Tomorrow marks a week since police say he shot into 12 cars on I-75, injuring 5 people. That is Joseph Couch, the suspect. Authorities have now extended the search area deeper into the Daniel Boone National Forest. Exit 49 along the interstate where that shooting happened has been completely barricaded until today. Both north and southbound exits are now in full operation. KSP will continue to provide an increased patrol presence near that exit. WKYT Samantha Valentino is in Laurel County again for us today, where she talked today with some of the first people who responded to that scene last Saturday night. She's joining us now. And Samantha, what did they tell you?
Well, Bill and Amber, as we've mentioned, we are now nearing the end of the 7th day of this manhunt for mass shooting suspect Joseph Couch. I want to take you back, though, to when this all happened. We know from police that 5 people in 12 vehicles were shot along I-75 here in Laurel County Saturday night. And as those shots rang out, crews from Ambulance Inc. of Laurel County were called to head right into the chaos. Today, we got to speak with 2 of those lifesavers about what they experienced Saturday night.
We were a little bit scared, a little bit intimidated, but we had a job to do.
Rihanna Smith and Ethan Brown were some of the first responders to arrive on I-75 in Laurel County Saturday night. They say when the call first came in, it was for a gunshot victim.
So about halfway through, that's when it got repaged as a active shooter. So didn't really know what to think, just kind of heading into it.
Police say Joseph Couch opened fire along I-75 Saturday. They've been looking for him ever since. The 911 calls started coming in just before 5:30 that night. 5 people were shot.
Just a sense of eeriness, I guess one could say. Not knowing if the shooter was still there, if we were going to possibly be the next victims.
But despite the fear and unknown, these 2 and other emergency personnel ran into the chaos.
It's a calling, and you have a job to do. And when you're kind of in the moment, you see the job and you do it. It's kind of part of it.
Governor Andy Beshear announced Thursday that 4 of the 5 victims have been released from the hospital. He says the 5th victim is expected to fully recover. Through this tragedy, no lives were lost. Governor Beshear credits first responders like Ethan and Rihanna for their quick and effective work.
To serve in a higher purpose than just ourselves, but just to be there and let the victims know, our patients know, help's coming.
Many first responders responded to this scene Saturday night, and a lot of them just aren't ready to go on camera quite yet to talk about it. However, I did speak with one paramedic today who said he had a moment with one of the victims that has still stuck with him. He says when you're running an ambulance and one of your patients asks you to close the back door while you're working on them, you don't really think twice about it. You just do it. However, Saturday night, his patient asked him to close the door, and he did, but their reason had nothing to do with temperature. He said usually when they ask you to close the door, they're either too hot or too cold. But this patient said to him, "I just don't want to get shot again." That paramedic says those words are still with him even 7 days later, and that they will likely remain with him for a long time. But for now, live in Laurel County, Samantha Valentino, WKYT.